Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and today we're going to talk about remote hi-hats. So these are fixed, they don't have a pedal, and there's no cable. I don't really like the cable ones. I know there's a few new ones out there that are pretty good, but they're still not the same immediacy as a real hi-hat. So I usually forego using cable hi-hats, but I like fixed ones. In other words, ones that you can put anywhere without any kind of cable. There's no pedal, you can just ride on them. There's a lot of benefits to this kind of thing, the most important being that you can not cross over. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, you see I play open-handed a lot when I lead with my left. But most of the time on a gig, I will be leading with my right. And it's nice sometimes to get over here and play on a dry surface rather than a cymbal. So I always, almost always use a fixed hi-hat. Now here today I have two, just to show you a few different things. I have a pretty heavy Latin gig coming up, and I'm going to use these just like I would use the shell of the timbale to play a polito pattern. So So in other words, instead of playing on the rim, I can use that fixed hi-hat. The other benefit is that you could play clave with your left foot, and then you can also splash that because you have the fixed hi-hat. So like this. So that's another big benefit to having a fixed hi-hat, is you can do all kinds of splashes. You also saw me do that in my original demo. Now let's talk about the equipment aspect of it. I have several of these little gizmos that I've picked up over the years. This one here, to my right, your left, is a DW, a very old one, and you adjust the tension, in other words, the tightness of the cymbals, just by turning this spring-controlled top nut here. Now this other one I have works with a bottom screw that you can make it really tight or really, really loose. So that's handy. They both work kind of the same way, just tightening the tension. But I like this bottom one instead. Now I don't know the maker of this one. I know this is DW, but I can't remember this one in particular. I think it might be a Tama, but I'm not positive about that. As far as the cymbals go, there's lots of different cymbals I use. Nothing's larger than 12-inch on these kinds of hi-hats. So you've seen me play a lot of my Latin videos with these Sabian mini hats. They're over here. But I don't know if I've shown you these remix hi-hats. These are the old Zildjian remix. Great line of cymbals. I know they discontinued them and then they came back with a different version, but these have a really, really nice sound to them. They're kind of airy and they're not obnoxious sounding. So I really like these. Are a little more on the quiet side. Now these are called micro hi-hats. They're tiny. I believe these are 8-inch. They are Paiste, and they're sound formula. So don't know if they make these anymore, but Paiste sent me these a long, long time ago, probably about 25 years ago. And I love them. There's not a main hi-hat, but it's great as sort of an accent hi-hat. So there's lots of different ways that you can work on coordination with this type of setup. If you go to page 39 in my book, you'll see a bunch of advanced funk ostinatos. The first one being this. So that's a really good one to get you started. It is a little bit complicated, but the rest of them are even more complicated. So what I do in this case is put my hi-hat on the upbeats, and you could either play it closed like this, or you can splash it like this. And then you could take page 7 in the book, rhythms, which are just single note rhythms, and play them under that. The first couple lines would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can go on and play number 2, which is a little more complicated, and that sounds like this. All right, and then you can go ahead and play those rhythms under that. I'll play you a little of that. All right, so those work really well. And just, keep going through these. It may take you a couple weeks to master, but it's totally worth it. Integrating those different sounds makes your playing really interesting. And also having the ability to do that splash hi-hat helps as well. Now that left foot really acts as an anchor when you play. So I'm sure some of you have noticed if you use your left foot, when you go over to the ride and you play like eighth notes like this, it really helps balance out your body as opposed to. All right? So sometimes having that left foot free and not having to rely on it as a ride surface and using your foot to play time really helps balance your body out on the kit. There's also a great opportunity to use this kind of thing when you play any kind of Afro-Cuban music, especially like timbali parts if you're playing cascara. So that would sound like this. Now in this case I tighten it up just a bit to make it sound like the shell of a timbali. So. And then you can splash your hi-hat with the clave. And then you can use that left hi-hat if you want, like this. Much like you'd play on the side of the timbales. Now these controls on the hi-hat are really important for that, so you can just tighten this down. You can tighten this a lot and it starts to resemble sort of a rim sound. Or right? So all kinds of different sounds. And what we're looking for is sounds in timbre. So all these hi-hats sound different. Again, makes for some interesting sounds and ideas. The last thing you can do if you're playing kind of heavy rock is loosen them way up. So sort of an open sound like this. Or even more, so they're just literally resting on each other. Once again, very effective and comfortable. You can use your left foot to play anything at that point. All right? So just gives you a lot of options. I'm always finding myself using these kinds of fixed hi-hats these days. It just makes it a lot more convenient. You can fit them anywhere. If you're just doing one up like this, one tom, that works. A lot of times if I'm using two toms, I'll put it right here. So no big deal there. And this little one, it's so small, it fits anywhere. So if you have a pair of splash cymbals, you can even use those. These are pretty thick, so just take it easy. You don't want to break them. So I'll just play a little for you, and we'll call it a day.